Hi guys, this is a short video just talking about how a major scale is built. I consider the major scale to be the first thing you should learn about music theory. It's the foundation of everything else. You'll learn chords, you'll learn modes and everything like that, all from your major scale. I relate everything back to that. So I think it's the first place to start and the most important concept to get down really clearly. So first of all, major scale is one you'll all recognise. It's used all the time. It sounds like this. So nice and basic, you should hear that. It should sound very, very familiar. So it's something we can all recognise, and we're going to start with looking at how the scale is put together. So every major scale has exactly the same set of intervals that they're put together with, which means that any major scale will always be constructed in the same way. It'll always start on one note, end on that same note 8 notes further along. And the sound of a major scale is consistent between any scale. So G major and A major, C major, D major, E major, E flat major, stuff like that, they all use the same system of intervals to give them the same sound. So for instance, that was a G major scale that I played first of all. If I now play an E flat major scale, it'll sound like this. So it's still recognisable as a major scale, even if it's starting somewhere completely different. So we're going to look at how that's built. So first of all, a major scale is built out of 8 notes. The first note is your root note. So this is, in G major, this is G, the 3rd fret on the low E string. And the 8th note is the first note repeated again. So right back at the end, you'll always end up where you started. So G is your first note, G is also your second note. And this distance between the 1st and the 8th is called an octave. So it'll be the same note repeated an octave higher. In between it, we have another 6 notes. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then back to 8. For the moment, we're not too worried about calling them by Latin names or anything like that. We're just going to look at the distances between all the notes. So there's 2 different intervals we're going to use, a tone and a semitone. So a tone on your guitar is 2 frets long. G to A, 3rd fret to 5th fret. That's a tone. A semitone is half as far. So a semitone would be 3rd fret to 4th fret. And those are the only 2 you need to learn for the major scale. A tone and a semitone. Now the order that those come round in is what gives you the sound of a major scale. So if I quickly just note down the tones and semitones, we can have a look at how those work. So the order goes tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 another semitone. So you've only got 2 little groups here, and I think of these as the same pattern almost repeated twice. You've got tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. And this is common to every single major scale, no matter where it starts. A, B, C, B flat, anything like that. It's all the same. So what you need to remember to be able to work out a major scale from anywhere is tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Now that's not hard to remember because it's just the same thing, except the second time there's 1 extra tone. So dead simple. If we go through our major scale and have a listen, I'll call it out as we go. So starting in G, we have a tone, and then a semitone. So you'll notice that I'm going back here. That is the same note as if I was to go up another fret. So we go tone, tone, semitone, except that I'm not playing it here. I'm playing it here. Tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone, tone. Same idea here. I'm going up a tone, except that I'm going to the next string to do it, and then semitone at the end. That brings us back to our octave, which is G. So going around one more time. Tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. And that's your G major scale. Nice and simple. Now, if we take that idea and we look at the notes behind it. So you will notice on here, it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, when you're talking about notes, you don't say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You say A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Those are the only letters that you're going to use, by the way. You won't use H. For our purposes, we only need those first few letters of the alphabet. We don't need to go any further. You might think, surely it would make more sense if we had all the letters, because there's 12 different frets on the guitar that we can use. So why don't we just call them all their own letters? Now, there is a good reason why. We're not going to go into it right now, but for the moment, we just need to remember that A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then you go back to the start again. Once you get all the way around, right back to the start. So, somewhat unintuitively, we're not going to start with an A major scale. That's actually more difficult. We're going to start with a C major scale, and we're going to look at how the tones and semitones sit within it. So here we have a C major scale: C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then back to C. C again is our octave at the end and the beginning. So you can see I've marked out tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone above it, and this tells you where the different intervals sit. So in this case, we have no sharps and no flats. You might have heard of sharps and flats before. If you hadn't, it's the little hashtag symbols and the little small B's that go next to the notes. They tell you that the note has to be changed from what it would normally be. So we don't have to worry about it right now. At the moment, C major just starts with no sharps and no flats. Everything is just natural, as it would normally be. So the intervals, you can see, is C, and then a tone to D, then a tone to E. Now, that's because in music theory, C and D sit a tone apart, D and E sit a tone apart as well. So if I'm playing my C major scale, I'll start from here. From the 8th fret on your E string, you go up a tone, and that's D. You go up another tone, and that's E. Now, there's only one fret difference between E and F in music theory. They're naturally only a semitone apart. So we only have E to F, and that gives us a semitone. So the first part of major scale, C, D, E, F, that's tone, tone, semitone. And now we have F to G is a tone, G to A is a tone, A to B is a tone, and B back to C again is a semitone. So tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Again, back to C again. Cool. And that is how your C major scale is constructed. For the moment, that's where we're going to leave it. We don't need to talk about building other scales. One thing I'll mention here, and we'll explore it when we talk about accidental sharps and flats, is that if you wanted to build a key starting on a different note rather than C, we say we want to play D major. Okay, great, we can play D major, but you can't just take all these notes and start them on D instead. Why not? Well, so if you did that, imagine we started here on D. Look what's happened to our pattern. Tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. It's no longer a major scale. We've had to change the order by starting in a different place. That's fine. We can still start on D, but what that means is we need to maintain the order of tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone by using accidentals. So we'll talk about that in a different lesson. For the moment, we're just going to leave it with C major. That should give you enough to start with the basic concepts of major scales. And like I say, major scales are going to be the underlying concept that everything gets tied back to. You can learn an awful lot just from your major scales. They really give you a lot of tools to work with. So that gives you everything you need to work with your major scales. We'll talk about different keys and stuff in another lesson, and we'll also look at chord theory, other stuff like that. For now, I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope it's been interesting. Ask any questions you feel like. I'm happy to answer. Thanks very much. Bye.